All right, Wheelock Chapter 8. We're going to be learning third conjugation verbs. We've learned so far first conjugation and second conjugation verbs. So the principal parts, which I've told you should be learning with as vocabulary along every time you have a verb in vocabulary, you should put all four principal parts on the vocabulary card, and you're going to begin to see why this is very important. Laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatum. Those are the four principal parts in the first conjugation. Your present indicative active, first person singular, present infinitive, perfect indicative active, first person singular. We haven't learned those forms yet, but you can see how it's how the ending is added on to the stem that you get from the infinitive. So the stem of the infinitive, you drop off the RE. And then laudatum is the perfect passive participle. Again, we haven't learned that yet, but it's good to know how it's formed already. And then second conjugation, manao, manera, manawi, manatum. And third conjugation now, duco, ducera. So this is why you need to pay attention to macrons. Monera, that's second conjugation, present indicative active, present infinitive active. Whereas in the third conjugation, ducera, no long vowel, short vowel in that infinitive. Duxi, ductum. The third principal part of the third conjugation, that is the perfect indicative active, is always slightly irregular. So I've given another third conjugation verb down here. Ago, agera, agi, actum. You can see how very irregular those third principal parts in third conjugation verbs can be. So you need to learn them as part of your vocabulary. And as we've learned the present, the future, and the imperfect for the first conjugation, the second conjugation, lesson 8 here, we learn all that for the third conjugation as well. So here is, first conjugation, we use laudo. This chart uses amo to give us the endings, but it's all the same. So the endings for the present, o, as, ad, amus, atis, ant. And in the future, we'll come over here to the future first. You have ama, that stem from the infinitive. And then you add bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitus, bunt. And then likewise for the imperfect, you start with that stem, ama. And then you add bam, bas, bat, bamus, batus, bunt. For the third conjugation, different vowel in these endings in the present. So the endings are o, is, it, imus, itus, unt. So duco, ducus, ducit, ducamus, ducatus, ducant. In the future, again, Wheelock has us do the future second. So future, ducam, duces, ducet, ducamus, ducatus, ducant. Now that might get a little confusing because that's going to look awful similar to, let me pull up the second conjugation. So here's second conjugation verbs. In the present, manao, manes, manet, monemus, monetus, monent. And now look at third conjugation future. Ducam, duces, ducet, ducamus, ducatus, ducant. So it's very important, look at this monent, that's they are advising, they are warning, as opposed to ducant, which is they will lead. So you have to know which conjugation a verb is to translate it correctly. You have to know that ducant, with an ent ending, in the third conjugation is future, whereas monent, ent ending, well, you have to know that maneo is second conjugation, so that's present tense. So that's why it is very, very important that you learn the whole verb, all its principal parts, as you move through the vocabulary. So if you've been kind of lazy with that and have just been learning, well, duco means I lead, and you haven't been learning duco, ducera, duxi, ductum, or or laudo, I praise, and you haven't learned laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatum, you need to catch up on that and start doing it the right way, because you have to know, is that a second conjugation or is that a third conjugation? And there will be more opportunities for this to confuse you later on if you don't get it right now, because as we move into the subjunctive mood, there will also be endings that are spelled the same but have different meanings, whether you're in the first conjugation or the third conjugation. So it's make sure you learn this well. So third conjugation, you need to do the present, the imperfect, and the future. And again, all that is obviously listed in your book. Wheelock uses ago, but I like this chart where they use duco for the paradigm, but it's the same endings, obviously. They're both third conjugation. And the imperative, let's see, where do they put the imperative on this? Do they put the imperative on this? It's way over here on the other side. There's our imperatives. Duke is the singular act. For ago, it's aga, and ducata or agata for the imperative. Okay. And then for the rest of this chapter, you simply need to get down your vocabulary. And again, lots of vocabulary. We're going to get a lot of verbs because we haven't done third conjugation verbs yet, so there's a whole lot to add. So be sure you do that. And for our exercises, for our translation exercises, again, after you've had a chance to learn your endings of the third conjugation, in the, again, this is in your book, in the present, in the future, and in the imperfect tenses. After you've learned those and you've looked over your vocabulary and you're pretty comfortable with that, do exercitaciones 1 and 2. And do it on, that's on page 67. So do those two and then come back to the next video and get the translations, so you'll be ready to see those on a quiz.